want to talk about UFO sightings and critical thinking. And I was watching a video by this man, he calls his channel Doug in Exile. And there's been a person who claims he has insider knowledge about the cover-up in our government of UFOs. And what has happened recently is that videos have been leaked but then verified as being authentic by the Pentagon. Surveillance videos showing otherworldly, if you will, craft. So what happened recently, and I think it was May of this year, in Las Vegas, one of these UFOs was sighted. It was seen, there's the lights from it, was seen like crashing in someone's backyard. And so the gentleman comes out, this young man, he calls 911. He claims to have seen this UFO object, and he claimed that he saw two aliens with large eyes and large mouths who were naked, as he described it, and about 8 to 10 feet tall. And so these things are going on. But what happened is the police took the report seriously, especially since one of the police saw the light, saw the UFO. So they took it very seriously. But this young man, he didn't have any video of it, and I can kind of understand. He's probably terrified to whip out your phone and video this. But Doug in Exile was saying, there's no evidence, there's no hard evidence that all this stuff about UFOs is true. It's all hearsay. And I was thinking about this young man and what he said, because of so many released videos, because this light was seen. The only thing that was documented from this is there's a spherical indention in his backyard. There's no video or photographs besides the light descending of this craft, supposed craft, and this alien occupants. So by the police got there, I think they were afraid to, once they saw these creatures, they're afraid to go back there again. When the police arrived, the incident was over. So anyway, one of these UFO investigators was speaking to this young man, interviewing him. It's kind of an annoying video. The young man keeps on pressing buttons on the screen all the time. And it's like, is this a fraud? Is this a hoax? No, it's not. It's like, but how do we know it's not a fraud or a hoax? Yes, a light was seen. Yes, he made a 911 call. Yes, the police took it seriously and looked into it. Later on, they put surveillance cameras there, but it's kind of ridiculous because, if this event happened, why would they go back? I guess it's possible. I think it's very unlikely, so putting those cameras up is probably a waste of time. Unless they think there might have been some reason that the aliens chose to go there, if that's what they were. So the question is this a distraction? Because there's a lot of things going on in our country right now that are very important. Things that affect us all. Things that are unprecedented. The media's out to get Trump. They're trying to arrest Trump for what? Oh, he mishandled classified documents because of the way he stored them. It's ridiculous. It's the whole thing of the doc. And then at the same time, Biden has done more egregious things with classified documents. There's evidence on Hunter Biden's laptop that Joe Biden received classified information. Hunter Biden received it from Joe Biden and was selling this information or giving it to people for bribery money. And then we just had, the other day, they had this chat message from Hunter where he's saying, my father, the vice president's here with me right now, you'd better give me the money that we agreed upon for this bribe payment today. I want it tonight, or else there'll be consequences. So the news media is not reporting, or they're avoiding reporting on the scandals involving former President Obama and former Vice President and current President, if that's what you want to call him, Joe Biden, and perhaps all this talk about UFOs. And JP, it's just, I like watching JP. He's comical, but he's saying the same thing. While these things are going, the government's trying to divert our attention. What happened this week is Durham came out. He was very powerfully grilled by Matt Gaetz, exposing all this corruption in the Democrat Party and the FBI and CIA and international intelligence organizations, our federal government trying to influence the election. Very disturbing. And then these releases of new information about Hunter Biden. So you had this sub going to check on the Titanic, and immediately as it went down, there's a pressure explosion, and the government knew this. The Navy knew that there's an accident and everyone on board was killed. But they created a narrative to keep people, oh, maybe they're down there, maybe we can rescue them. They wanted this story so people aren't paying attention to Durham, so not paying attention to the Hunter Biden scandals. So that our government knew that basically on impact, if that's what you want to call it, when they went down to see the Titanic, the accident occurred, the people died. But they wanted people to be distracted from what's going on. Terrible corruption in our government. I'm really concerned about the bribery of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden because it's an impeachable offense. And if we allow it to happen without consequences, it'll become the norm. Biden has to be impeached for bribery. The Constitution says so. Are we going to go by the Constitution, or are we going to collapse as a constitutional republic? So what does that mean? Does that mean there's nothing to these UFO sightings? I think we need more hard evidence. I've talked about this in my prior episode, but I want to mention. I think it was the Nimitz. Was it 2009 to 14, where you had the Navy pilot actually talked about what he saw. They're doing training maneuvers, and they got called for the real life mission. And they're supposed to track these what were they call them Tic Tac UFOs. They're about the size of a school bus, shaped like a giant Tic Tac, and they're moving at incredible rates of speed and making 90-degree turns, which would, if any craft a human being had made, with the technology we have now, the vehicle should have fallen apart, broken to pieces, and if there was an organism inside that, moving those high rates of speeds and taking those sharp turns, it would liquefy, kill the pilot. But I mean, if there's some kind of buffer technology that's beyond our technology today, I guess we don't know how this works. Are these unmanned drones? Are they manned? What are these crafts? Are they Chinese drones? Are they a secret U.S. program? We don't know. And usually something like that, you want to dismiss the story altogether. It's just a UFO sighting and it's ridiculous. It's not true. So I was talking to my brother about this, and he's really a big UFO aficionado. And so when this video, the Tic Tac UFO, came out, it's horrible. It's blurry image. It's distorted, and I'm looking at it. It's like a smudge. It's got very low definition, very bad quality, very blurry. The footage is trash. It's garbage. It's a smudge. So I'm looking at it. It's like, oh, look at this. Brother's like, look at this. Look at this. It's an authentic video of UFO, and it says it's garbage. It has low definition. It's smudgy. It's just it's trash. You're telling me to take this seriously? All I see is a smudge. And he goes, look at it. It's it is the flight video recorder. So I'm looking at it, but you got to be objective about things. And I look at it, it's like, okay. I look at it, and like I said, that the Pentagon said this is an authentic video, and even though it's low resolution, bad definition, grainy image, it looks like a smudge. It's real. It's a real. So even though the footage is trash, it's real, right? You can see it. Look at it yourself. And then the Pentagon verified its authenticity. And then the Navy pilot that was pursuing this craft, he talked about, and there's other witnesses besides him that verified this account, what they saw. And people with mental disabilities or people who have trouble grasping reality are not going to be allowed to fly a Navy fighter jet. So this is an educated person. This is an intelligent person. And it's not somebody with a mental disability, not somebody who's irrational. So you have to take the sighting very, very seriously. And what are these? Obviously these objects are real. And here, I need to talk to some people. I know some people are witnesses. In Porter, I guess in the mid '80s, and footage of these vehicles has been. It's a pyramid-shaped. This woman was driving a country road at night, and she thought it was the second coming of Christ. But this UFO is like spitting out fire. She fell very ill. I think she had like radiation poisoning from this incident. Her son survived and has lived to tell about the incidents. And I know people. It's really amazing how the government went in there, stripped the road where that incident took place, and repaved it in one night. Can you imagine? But that's what they did. I know people who were in the area when that event, just less than 20 miles from here, took place. That poor woman, and then the government covered up, and whatever happened, this woman was seriously affected and suffered greatly from the injuries sustained from the bright light and the heat. And she sued the government, and they covered it up, and they should have compensated her for her injuries. They lied about things, like apparently there were Chinooks or helicopters flying around. They denied it, but these things are really happening. So what are these objects? And like I said, my brother and I happened to be in Roswell, New Mexico for this, just by happenstance. We were going to my cousin's funeral. We drove there and we passed through Roswell on the way. It was the 75th anniversary of the Roswell incident, and I saw the press report. And like I said, I mentioned this in the previous program. I go into more detail on my feelings about this. But I'm a military man. I'm a major, and it's describing the public affairs officer did a press release about the UFO landing as soon as it happened. It says, okay, now we know the question has been settled. Are these UFOs a real thing or not? Now we know it's real because we now have a flying disc. It crashed in a rancher's land. He called the military. We came and picked it up. A flying disc, and now higher headquarters has taken it. And then a few days later, no, it was a kite. It was a large piece of aluminum foil, balsa wood, and Scotch tape. And like I said, people in 1947, this is right before the Army Air Force, is just a few days before it became the Air Force, its own branch of the military. So we already have a nuclear bomb or an atomic bomb. We have an atomic bomb, we have tanks, we have planes, we have jets, we have computers. It's science fiction for a long time before then. People were sophisticated, there's motorized vehicles and electricity. People were sophisticated to tell the difference between a flying disc and a sheet of aluminum foil. So I am inclined to believe that something happened in Roswell, New Mexico. And then Don Jr. asked President Trump about it. And he said, what have you found out about Roswell? You want to release this to the public? I don't know if I should. I'm not ready. I don't know if I'm ready to release that to the public yet. If it was just a kite, I don't see why there'd be any. And plus, those documents are still classified to this day. When I was in Israel doing archaeological work, hard day out in the field came out. I turned on the TV. I was resting, and they had a documentary that was playing over there about Area 51, and it was about the scientists who were recruited to build the U-2 space plane. And they were all elderly at this time, of course. But what happened was, that's antiquated technology. But it was so secure when they're developed. They didn't want to tell you couldn't even tell your wife what you were doing. And they were recruited to go to Area 51 to work on this spy plane for weeks at a time, sometimes months away from their wives. And they were under strict orders. And when they asked, they're trying to recruit the scientists. He said, well, I don't know about that. Let me ask my wife about it. They didn't call him back again. This is very, very secret. So what I'm saying is, they allowed all these people who worked on the U-2 spy plane to talk to, I don't know, National Geographic or wherever it was, to create this documentary, because that technology, even though it's cutting edge and avant-garde or whatever you want to call it at that time, it's antiquated now. It doesn't make any security threat because it's old 60, 70-year-old technology. So that being the case, if all these people worked at Area 51, you can talk about the development of this, what had been top secret technological development, why is the Roswell file still classified to this day? Now, I'm just saying that we do need, I think Doug and Exile and JP are correct, this can be a distraction. That doesn't mean it's not true, but they can be using this information as distraction as they collapse our republic and work to create a totalitarian police state. And if you think about the ramifications, the ramifications of encountering potentially an alien civilization, but that's not having any bearing on these people's attempt to collapse our democratic republic and create a totalitarian Marxist police state, right? Or Barack Obama, his devotion to Islam. So he's privy to whatever's going on with these UFOs, but he's still devoted to Islam. Doesn't have an effect of his devotion to Islam. I mean, it hasn't. Why does Barack Hussein Obama have such an affection for the Islamic religion? I don't know. I mean, there's a logical explanation to that, which is very simple. But being exposed to truth about UFOs hasn't affected his allegiance or sympathy or interest or passion for that religion, nor has it affected the radical left's attempts to dismantle our constitutional republic and create a Marxist totalitarian police state. So we have to keep things in perspective. I think we need to preserve our liberties. But in conclusion, what are these devices, these crafts? There's a potential. I think scientists say the universe is like 13 billion years old, according to scientific estimates. I think when I was younger, they were saying 14 to 24, but now they got it down to 13. I defer to their expertise. But these could belong to an ancient civilization that originated on this planet, possibly. Maybe these are just another form of life from Earth that we're not familiar with for whatever reason. Some people think, in the realm of possibilities, that these are interdimensional beings, potentially angelic or demonic in nature. When it comes to the realm of angels and demons and how they function, we don't really know, because that's not a realm that we're familiar with. So it's like, what would an angel or demon need a craft for? I don't know. Maybe that's just how they relate from their dimension, their reality, to ours. So maybe they do need these craft. I don't know. How would we? We can't. We get if ghosts are real somehow, which belief in ghosts and spirits and people having experiences with that as something universal. Wherever you go to Eskimos or Inuit in the North Pole, you go down to the people in Africa, the Aborigines, African tribes and Aborigines. Everyone's had, all these nationalities, people have had experiences with the spiritual world, with ghosts. So maybe there's something to it. So it could be, what I'm saying, could be a demonic or a spiritual phenomenon. But of course, the most likely explanation is that these are advanced civilization from another solar system. One thing that the Pentagon released recently, which is pretty obvious, these vehicles that we're coming across are short range vehicles. So what does that mean? That means there's probably a mothership. If these are coming from a higher intelligence, or advanced civilization, an alien civilization, then they obviously have a mothership somewhere hiding in our solar system. Maybe they're in the dark side of the moon. Maybe they're behind Neptune or Jupiter. But it's very likely that if these are extraterrestrial, if you will, that's most likely something that's going on. And I talked about in the previous video, how does this affect our interpretation and understanding of the Bible? I saw Matt Walsh is interested in UFOs. He's a devout Christian, very devout Catholic. and he was talking to, was it Knowles? It was just one of his co-workers at the Daily Wire, and I think it's Matt Knowles' last name, whatever, or I forget his name, whatever it is. He's like, I don't believe in UFOs. The Bible says thou shalt not believe in UFOs. I know it's in there somewhere. So I'm obligated not to believe in UFOs. There cannot be such a thing. and Matt Walsh is like, doesn't say that in the Bible. You know, it doesn't say that. It's like, I don't think that this is going to impact my faith in any way whatsoever. Like I mentioned, sometimes we're talking about Galileo. You know, the way he wrote, he's very serious about his Catholic faith. He never renounced Catholicism. It wasn't his intention. And he wasn't really attacking theology or doctrine in any way. It was just some scientific theories that certain church leaders had become enamored with. And Galileo, I've read his works like, I believe in the Bible, I believe in Jesus Christ, I believe in theology, but you're teaching that the moon is such and such a way, or it's like, based on my scientific analysis, I think you're wrong about the science of that. It doesn't have any bearing on the scriptures or our relationship with God. Looking at the science, I think your interpretations of certain people, these ideas that are being promoted by the Catholic Church that aren't biblical or theological, are mistaken. And sometimes people do mistakenly interpret the Bible, like when you have the idea of the earth orbiting the sun. Luther said, well, that can't be true because the Bible says the earth does not move. But he's citing a scripture from the book of Psalms, which is, it's not a scientific treatise anyway, it's a book of poetry, right? We talk about sunrise and sunset because that's our experience. It doesn't mean the sun's literally rising or setting. So I think that, like I said before, I wrote about this in one of my recent books, we should do a thought experiment in which we entertain the notion that there is alien life and that these UFOs are real. What does that mean? What are the implications? I think it'd be wise to consider the possibility, because it's better to have thought it through than have been resistant and not thought it through, and then have a crisis of faith. And lastly, my father, when he was a child, you know, he had this experience where he, you know, of course, that for me, in my experience, that's firsthand testimony. And I have a video of my dad's UFO sighting. But that's what we need. Is I want first-hand evidence, like the grainy, crappy video footage. I wasn't too impressed with it at first, but I could not deny that it's authentic, and then it was confirmed by the FBI. Sorry, by the Pentagon. I don't trust the FBI. But I really believe, and I mentioned this in the other video, they're doing us a disservice, these people, if this is real, if these UFOs are real. They're hurting mankind by withholding this information in two ways. Number one, it's like Mr. Knowles is having this crisis of faith, but if this information was released as it was in the press release that was rescinded, if it was released, and then we would have had time to cope and deal with the ramifications of the reality of the UFO crash landing at Roswell. Now it's 70 years later and they're still not certain that it actually happened, or what if it did happen, what that means, and how it affects us, and how it affects our relation to the world, and our understanding of reality. So that's the one thing, is they're hurting mankind by withholding this information, which we're entitled to. And apparently, according to this leaker, they'll kill people over, you know, they desire to control this information about UFOs, and they'll kill people. If you try to find out and release it, you can potentially be killed. The other thing is the danger of technology. Now, let's just say, for sake of argument, that this is a civilization, this technology or civilization from another world. And that's what this man's claiming. He's claiming that some of these crafts have been downed, and sometimes the pilots have been discovered. Possibly some of the living pilots are discovered. But most likely they're dead. So we have the remains of alien pilots. So the problem is, and this goes back to Bob Lazar. When I first heard Bob Lazar's story, I thought it was interesting and compelling, but I dismissed it because it's like, oh well, you know, the Men in Black came after me and I ran away and got away from them. It's like, if they wanted to get you, they're going to get you. That seems kind of ridiculous to me. But I don't know, it seems like as time goes on, Bob Lazar's story seems more and more credible all the time. But Bob Lazar's, like, his idea is in a hangar at Area 51. They have one of these down craft. Some of them are intact, apparently. Some of them are partially intact, according to this new leaker. But they're trying to reverse engineer these advanced spacecraft, and it's hard for them to do. What I'm saying, and actually, according to the new leaker, Gorshik, whatever his name is, they had a engineer from Boeing. They showed him the craft, and he goes, we can figure this out. I need my staff. I can assign maybe 20 people, and we can probably make great inroads. And, oh, no. We don't want this information getting out. It's like, I need a team. If you want me to deconstruct and reverse engineer this craft, I have a team of the best scientists and engineers in the world. You can give us a crack at it, and we'll figure it out. No. This is top secret. Nobody can know. We don't know if this is an alien species. We don't know what their intent is. They could have hostile intent to us. It's vitally important for us to understand the science and technology in those crafts, so that we can, if need be, defend ourselves from these aliens. And since we're behind, probably a couple of centuries, if not more, behind in technology, we need to play catch up. And the only way to catch up quickly is to use the collective mind of all mankind to decipher this technology. We can do it, but this should be a collective endeavor with all mankind. Like I said, there's a lot of forces of evil in the world. I'm very opposed to radical Islam. I don't like the Chinese Communist Party and other forces. But the fact of the matter is, there's one human species. This is the only planet we have. And if we're in peril, this shouldn't be something about a nation. This should be something about the species, the human species. I guess they're afraid, like, well, what if the Chinese make a breakthrough and give us have a advantage, a tactical advantage over us? It's like, well, I think we need to catch up with the alien species. And if the Chinese do make a breakthrough, we're probably more inclined to have the breakthroughs if they let more scientists work on it anyway. But I think this is about the survival of the species, potentially, and they need to stop playing games. They're hurting our world, our humanity, by keeping this information secret. And I devoted my life to the teachings, the life and teachings of Jesus Christ in the Scriptures. And I don't know, does this have any implications of what I believe as a Christian or not? Probably not. Maybe it does. Maybe I have to rethink some things. Maybe I have to interpret certain things differently. I don't know. But it's wrong for them to withhold facts. And like I said, if our species is potentially in danger, we need to know and actually we have the right to defend ourselves. So whoever's keeping this information from the public, what they're doing is inhuman and is a great threat to the human species. And these people need to divulge this information, be held accountable for the crimes of withholding scientific facts that impact everyone from the world.